Yeah, there we go.
All right, and we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Show Me the Money Club. This is the small market of Uber and Lyft when it comes to drivers, and what's going on out there. I am Chris. Sergio is my cohort here, and we just want to say thank you to Jeff from Myrtle Beach, Levi from Syracuse, Dolphus from San Diego, Tim from Portland, Tony from Denver, also known as Driven Dad, Sean from Philly. Thank you, everybody, for coming on, hanging out, sharing everything that's going on. So we have a bunch of different topics that we're going to go through today when it comes to driving, kind of what you're doing in your markets, all that good stuff. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for participating in this driver discussion. And yeah, all right, we'll get right into it.
Again, everybody, thank you. We'll just go the way we are on the screen, which I'm not sure where. Okay, so we'll go with Tim. So you got a couple of minutes to introduce yourself. You know what platforms you drive for, what you see in your market at the moment, and go for it. It's yours.
Sergio from high atop the bottom of the Willamette Valley in Portland, Oregon, and weighing in at a spry 245 pounds and just over 12,500 rides. My name is Tim Carter. I've been a full-time driver throughout the pandemic and the social upheaval here in Portland, Oregon, and lived to survive. I'm currently part-time with the W-2. Other than that, we got traffic and weather together on the 9s. If you're the 25th caller, you can win the keys to the Power Porsche. So turn it up, rip the knob off right here on the RideShare Guy. Thanks for the intro.
Wow.
All right.
Okay. Well, you and Roxy from last week. That's it. From now on, that's all we got.
Okay.
Levi, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
I muted myself while we wrote intro. I'm Levi from Syracuse, New York. I'm enjoying a slow, non-snowy summer. No students in town. I drive a Prius. I've done about 3,500 rides. And yeah, enjoying the Syracuse slow summer. It's a lot of golf.
Oh, a lot of golf, huh? Yeah. Well, I know about your blog, Tip You in the App. So let's talk about that for 30 seconds, because I think it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I read all of them, all the articles. I invite everybody to go to the blog and read it. Seriously, it's wonderfully done.
So we've all gotten that false promise, right? Hey, if you pull over, let me get some cigarettes or whatever, I'll tip you in the app. And they never tip, right? You know they're not going to tip. It's the biggest tell. So I just thought I'd create a little blog and some videos about weighing in on that. And instead of tips on how to be a better driver, what I really wanted to do was just kind of build a camaraderie and a spirit of like, hey, this is a good gig and I like it.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, I that's why we're here for. So, Jeff, can you hear us? Are you back?
I am back.
Okay,
all I did was touch the screen and I was gone.
Yeah, well, tech support to the rescue. Wife, where's the wife? So, so go ahead. You're up.
I'm Jeff Honig. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My wife and I moved from New Jersey 4.5 years ago, and immediately rideshare was very important in our life. My wife started driving first. I followed. I was doing this on Saturday and Sunday. I was a full-time IC courier Monday through Friday. And the rideshare experience has been just terrific for us. It's really been a plus in our life in a lot of different ways. I did 1,000 rides for Lyft in 2 years. They sent me a nice jacket, and then a month or so later, they said that my vehicle was no longer viable, and so they made a mistake, but at least I got a jacket, so I made out better than they did.
How many rides you got on Uber?
7,500 Uber rides, just on the weekend. A year ago, I decided to semi-retire. I realized that if I just worked 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and worked all day like I had been doing on the weekend, I would make as much money just about that I was making 7 days a week. So I'm semi-retired. When I drive the full 12 hours, and I pick up everyone. And it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and so do my riders. And just to give you an idea of the two different markets I drive in, I drive down to Charleston, which is 70 miles south of where we live. The rate in Myrtle Beach is a lot higher than Charleston, so that's different, and it's a much different area. Right now, most drivers are saying that it's slow, but I really haven't experienced that in what I do. And I'm a numbers guy, so I have a lot of numbers that I keep track of.
Good, great. Okay, Adolphus, Mr. Suit and Tie and Hat. How are you, sir? I'm going to start calling you sir because
Hello,
every time
sir.
I talk to him, he calls me sir every time. I'm like, I don't know why, but go ahead. All right, welcome.
Well, just first off, for you and Mr. Chris, I really appreciate the forum that you set up and to give feedback so that maybe these knuckleheads will. I'm talking about the CEO of Lyft and Uber will start paying attention to what the drivers are telling them, because they're missing a whole bunch of money. But anyway, I'm a former Marine Master Sergeant retired. That's my real niche market. That's why I got into this business in the first place, is because there's a real problem on base where, these guys don't have a way to get around. So they have this bus on the base that basically will take you everywhere you don't want to go, charge you $10 and it'll take up your whole day. Or the other alternative basically is a taxi. So I said, what I'm going to do is go set this business up so that I can take care of those guys. So I go over there almost on a daily basis. And that's my main market. So I know you asked me if I work downtown and do all of that. I don't do any of that stuff much until everybody got cooties. Once everybody had cooties, I had to switch my game up a little bit. But I've been driving for Uber a little over 6.5 years. Got about 3,000 rides. I started with them. And then for some reason, everything cut out, but I still drive with Lyft, and I've done about 7,000 miles with Lyft.
Cool. All right, that's
about
wonderful.
it.
So you figured out a side gig of a side gig there. See, that's an entrepreneur right there. Sean, you're up, buddy.
Hi, I'm Sean. I drive only for Lyft right now. I used to drive primarily for Uber for 3 years. I used to be registered to Philly. Now I'm registered to Lehigh Valley. I pretty much cover the entire southeast of corner PA. Have about 8,000-ish rides. That's about it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going
Short
to
and
say.
sweet.
No. Okay, nobody matched Tim so far. So, given that, I have high hopes for you. Not last but not least.
Well, I'm Tony, also known here on YouTube as the Driven Dad, and I drive a Tesla Model Y to make a living. So I drive Uber, Lyft, and then a lot of the delivery platforms as well, but that's not what this is about, so we'll leave that to the side. And I've been driving for 5.5 years. I've done almost 10,000 trips between Uber and Lyft, mostly on Uber. But since I got the Model Y, my Lyft ride count has definitely increased because I mainly stick to Uber Comfort, Lyft Lux, and Lyft Lux Black as much as possible. After you do those, it's hard to want to go and do the lower base pays.
Yeah.
Not necessarily lower class stuff. It's just they don't pay as much, so it's hard to want to do that.
Yeah, one Lyft Lux is like 6 Uber X's. So
Right. Like I'll take one
Lyft Lux. Yeah.
I'll take one Black per hour versus like 6 Ubers any day.
Yep.
But my wife and I, we vlog on the channel, and we have 5 kids, so that's what got me into the gig work in the first place.
Wow. See, there's a hardworking man right there. Any possible way. But you're too young to have 5 kids, bro.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I'll be 40 in October, so.
Okay. So just like Levi, Tony has a wonderful YouTube channel that he started. So I urge everyone to go watch it. It's very inspirational. So congrats. I just subscribed to you. So Chris, start it all up. Let's go. You're in charge today, bro. I'm just going to sit here.
All right. So yes, able to speak a lot better this week around. So welcome everybody. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So first off, what do you like about driving for Uber and Lyft? We're going to go in the same order for everybody. So it's going to go Tim, Levi, Jeff, Adolphus, Tony, and I'm sorry, Sean, and then Tony. So then Yeah. So first off, Tim, if you want to answer that, what do you like about driving for Uber or Lyft?
It keeps you in the know. So I'm a guy that's approaching the age of 50. And so, the passengers sort of become an inadvertent travel guide. So I always know, the dopest restaurants, the hippest places. So, when I escort a young lady out on the town, then I know, the best places to go, new venues, new restaurants. The other thing that I like is the payment flexibility. So one thing that I discovered was a big asset when I was applying for my W-2 positions was that Uber and Lyft helped me navigate that awkward 3 to 5 week space where you're waiting for your first pay cycle to materialize into your first full paycheck. So it helped me navigate that situation. So those would be my two favorite things.
Yeah.
So it's like a little stopgap for you, right? I mean, do you, with your ride count, it looks like you are almost full-time driver. I mean, you're not like a super part-time.
I was for a long time, but yeah, now I'm part-time with the W-2.
Okay, awesome. That's the best way to do it. Levi.
Yeah, for me, obviously the money is why I do it, but it was really the stories and the people that I met. In Syracuse, you primarily are an alternative to the bus because we don't have a mass transit system. So you just get to meet everybody going to and from work. And that's what I do. I take people to and from work all the time. And I'm surprised at just how many amazing people and amazing stories that I hear just about every day. It's almost like the best part of a blind date to some extent, right? Because you don't know who you're picking up and they don't know you. So everybody gives you their best story when they first get in the car. And I really like that.
Yeah, there's no second date with Uber and Lyft. Let me tell you that. The algorithm will not match you with the same. Really?
No,
if you're not tight, really?
No, I take people. I take the same people probably every week.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I've never had the same passenger
Welcome
twice,
to small markets.
Yeah, welcome to small markets.
I'm going to learn a lot today. Yeah, Jeff, how about you? Do you drive the same people all the time or what?
Some of the times.
Really?
Not as much as that, but I'm going to talk about exactly what you were talking about, Levi, because it's easy to say the flexibility and the part-time income is great, but I think in general is that with rideshare, you can take Uber or Lyft or both, and you can inject it into your life and make it work how you want, what you want out of it. There are hundreds of ways of being an Uber or Lyft driver, and there's no right or wrong, but sometimes it just fits who you are. The best part for me personally is the riders. I've had amazing people, just like you just said, inspirational, funny, interesting, successful, you name it. And it is so much fun. I look forward every day on who's going to get in my car. 4.5 years ago, I started writing a blog called Becoming a Southerner. And for me, the best part of that blog now every month is the end of the month, I put down my favorite comments each month of people in my car because I keep track of it every ride. And I write another blog about 3 to 6 rides that I have of people I meet. And that is really the basis of why I'm in the process of writing a book, which has a working title of Driving on the Sunny Side with 10,000 Strangers. And that book is really celebrating the lives of my riders. One last thing is 3 years ago, at the end of my first year, I wanted to give a gift to some of my riders because they've been so amazing and also generous too. So I decided that I already had a list every month of my favorite comments. I'd make a yearly list of my top comments of the year and print it out and give it out to certain people. And when you tell a rider that you're giving them a gift, they start to laugh and they really enjoy it. It is so much fun giving it to people. I've said it was a birthday gift, an anniversary gift, an engagement gift, you name it. It doesn't matter, but they enjoy it. And I love giving it to them.
So is the what you don't like about it part is going to be as long as what you like about it, or what's going to happen? Let's see.
Listen,
all right,
it's not.
Mr. San Diego,
it's
you're
not
right.
perfect. It's not perfect.
It's not perfect,
but
no,
it is really, really good.
I agree.
Right.
Okay, so Adolphus, you're up.
Yes, sir. Like I said before, I got into this business originally because, guys were telling me that, you know, they didn't have a way to get around the base. And so I said, well, if I'm going to set this thing up, what I want to do is set it up sort of like a business class experience, just above the regular Lyft rides. So I wanted to go on base. So I go on base pretty much every day. And that's my main business. And then once everybody had cooties, of course, then I had to switch my game plan up. But you can make a lot of money in this off base, but you can make a lot of money on base, because Lyft was very responsive, because I made a suggestion to both of them. I told Lyft and Uber, hey, why don't you come up with a base mode so that, you know, you can take care of all these people on the base. And Lyft actually did it. And so they came out with this lightning lightning program or something. But anyway, it was like giving the Marines a way to take a cheap ride, but then the driver could get on base, and then they would bonus you up for those rides. So I was getting bonused up, you know, $15, $20, $25, depending upon what day it was. So these guys didn't have to pay that much money. And then I was making a killing, because I would turn that phone off and run back through the gate. And I mean, I couldn't stay over there fast enough. So I wanted to be over there anyway. And, you know, so once they start incentivizing me to do that, that's what I made my niche market.
So, but that, I bet you that doesn't exist anymore now. I guarantee it.
It does not exist anymore, and that's what I don't like about Lyft and Uber. So now I give these guys my number, and I tell them, hey, well, just call me on a regular ride, a shared ride, or whatever, and I'll be right there. You know, only guy that's going to get on base anyway. But now if you get some of those zone bonuses, it's $50.
Yeah. But why do you think they stopped that?
They stopped it because they don't know what they're doing.
Oh. It's nothing.
They're missing a lot of money. They don't know what they're doing. That's
yeah, but you know, we'll hit the good, juicy stuff in a minute. So, how about you, Sean? What do you like about Uber and Lyft? Just like, not dislike.
I mean, I like what everyone else said. I mean, basically, everything like was pretty good. I said primarily for me is I like providing a service to the community. That's like I first got into this as kind of like a social experiment, and being an introvert and just not being very sociable with that, like getting out there and getting out of my comfort zone, meeting new people, hearing different opinions outside my social circle and stuff like that, was pretty awakening. And then I was a machinist for 22 years, so I basically was just in manufacturing my whole life, and sit there and go into complete opposite, providing a service, sitting there and being able to like the very interesting thing about this to me is every driver has their own kind of like secret sauce to make it what they want. Before the pandemic, I fell in love with this guy called the Simple Driver. He's from Calvin Hill. He really pushed the marketing in Atlanta, and it kind of got me to further push my limits. Like I would go into the bar, like if I sat there and frequently drove into a city, I would go into the bars, have a drink. I mean, not, of course, I wouldn't, nothing alcoholic or anything like that, but I mean, I'd sit there, get my name out, press the flush, sit there and introduce myself, meet the bouncers, meet the, I'd go to all the strip clubs, you know, I'd sit there, I'd meet bouncers.
Do you have a wife? Is your wife listening to this, bro?
Oh, I'm not married. No, I'm
okay. Well, after
have,
this, there will be no wife.
Well, I mean, I have a very a very unique situation. The fact that I'm a minimalist. I don't have any kind of social constraints like that, so I'm able to get away with a lot in doing this.
All right, so now I know why you like Uber and Lyft. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Tony, how about you? 5 years is a long time. 5 kids. Uber and Lyft probably fits your schedule. You know, right? The flexibility, the freedom, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I started off doing Uber part-time. That's what got me into it, because I was in a salaried position. Only way to earn extra money when they steal your bonus away from you from corporate America is to go and get a side gig. So the flexibility of Uber was phenomenal, and the pay was really well. And then I decided to go full time. Got a call from another company to come work for them, so then I went back part time, and then the last 3 years I've been full time again. But basically, yeah, well, full time gig economy, but mainly rideshare.
Cool. Would I be wrong to say that everybody likes the freedom and flexibility of the gig, right? I mean, pretty much. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what's up next, Chris?
Yes. And the pay.
Yeah. Well, because you created a base mode, bro. You know when was the last time Lyft listened to me? Never. All right.
Well,
next one. I don't know. I don't listen. What's on the agenda now, Chris? All
right. So now being in smaller markets, obviously it's a lot different than Sergio. If you've been listening to Sergio talking about LA and what it's like driving in LA. So one of the big things is, I drive in Buffalo, so that is a smaller market as well too. So you got to come up with different strategies than, the big cities. So what are a couple of things that you do in your particular market to try to help with, just offsetting, just being a smaller market, maybe less people, population density. So maybe you got to drive a little bit more. What are a couple of things that you've been doing in your own particular market that is helping you to help maximize your earnings?
Am I starting?
Yep, yes, Tim, sir. If you want to go.
I don't know that I really ever had to. I'm very fortunate in that. I mean, I don't know if it's just the nature of being in a progressive city or whatever, but other than the time right before the pandemic when, everybody was taking time out to kind of figure out what the virus was, I've never really had even so much as a season where rides weren't robust enough to facilitate even a full-time. The only thing, I guess a better question would be, what do I not do? And I guess, there are areas like we have a very disadvantageous airport. My airport puts me in a dangerous geographical location. It also puts me on the border of Washington and right across from Vancouver. And Vancouver is just nothing but major four-way intersection after major four-way intersection. So the easiest way for me to answer that is just to learn the areas that slow down my hourly average, which was easy for me to figure out. Other than that, I really don't have that big of a problem maintaining a consistent flow of income.
All right, awesome. Levi?
Yeah, I think for smaller markets, I'm in a college town. Syracuse University has 14,000 students when they come into town, and they take our market through the roof because nothing is close to the university, but everything is close enough for them to catch like a $15 Uber. So we can do like 6 rides in an hour when the students are back in town, and you just go back and forth to small little locations. Things that we don't do, like I've probably done, I don't know, 1 airport ride a week, maybe a couple of weeks. So there's just really no airport runs at all for us. I'm typically just picking up somebody there. The other things that I don't get, that I think a larger market that I can see, is I don't really get a chance to ever turn the app off. I mean, I'm getting rides all the time. It's like as soon as I turn the app on, it goes ding, 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 and it's nonstop. So the idea of chasing a surge doesn't make sense to me because I don't ever see them. I'm always just getting rides stacked on top of them. So it's just constant work.
Mm-hmm. Do you, Tim and Levi, since you already answered the questions, I mean, in my market, I'm seeing a massive oversaturation at the moment. Pretty much, I wrote an article actually today on the blog side. Literally, there are 8-10 drivers from each platform on each street corner of LA, which was pretty much the same picture in late 2018 and 2019. Are you seeing that? I mean, are you seeing a slowdown in requests, or basically you're sharing the pie with many, many more drivers than it used to be?
We got 10.
I'm still, especially at the airport, I'm still seeing really high demand for drivers. I'm trying to think. Overall, I would say there's still a demand for drivers. There's a supply shortage.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Levi?
I see all the Ubers out and about in the city. But like I say, my demand is as soon as I drop off someone and I pick up the next ride, it already schedules my next ride for me. So it's like just as long as I just keep accepting rides,
Right.
I'm never deadheading it, just driving around waiting for somebody.
And the other thing
Right,
too,
Jeff.
just to quickly piggyback on what Levi just said, working in a smaller market also means you don't have as much deadhead facing you. So even if I'm going all the way across town, it's not as intimidating as I can imagine, what a major market would go through.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How about you, Jeff? Do you see such oversaturation? I mean, and also, you're in a smallish kind of market, let's say, and
Well, I can honestly say I haven't really seen it. It's a very common thing for drivers to always say there's too many drivers. There's too many drivers, and in some cases, especially in Myrtle Beach, in the winter months, it's obviously there aren't enough riders. And in the winter
Right.
months, I do spend more time in Charleston, which is 70 miles south, and it's a much larger area, many more people, and that makes a difference. But two other things that what I focus on is I learned something from one of my riders who worked at Boeing, and he was explaining to me how he gets paid, how his compensation works. It's very complicated. I said, well, how do you keep track of it? And he said, well, I look at the whole picture. He focuses on the whole picture. And that's what I do. So how are different ways of making money? How do we get paid? Well, one thing is tips. I've kept track of my tips for 3 to 4 years. And I know exactly, for instance, 40% of the people who got in my car last year gave me a tip. Right now I'm at 45%. I know by month when it goes up, when it goes down. I know what the average is. I know what to expect. And that helps me get more tips. The other thing is long distance pickup fee. People laugh at it and they say, oh, it's nothing. But you know what? I keep track of it because I know that Uber is paying me after 9 minutes. They're paying me to pick someone up. No one's in the car. I'm eating. I'm singing. And
right. So
I
we
made
spoke.
almost $2,000 last year just on the long distance pickup fees.
What kind of car do you drive again?
I have a Ford a Transit van, and it's a very unique van. It's my second one. It has a lot of room. It gets about 28 miles a gallon, but has a lot of room for passengers, and I love it, and the passengers love it too.
So from what I'm hearing is that you accept every trip request that you get, long, short, distance, whatever, right?
Yes.
And that okay. And then you're not seeing a slowdown in demand. You're basically the same as it was last year.
I have my numbers are very much like they were a year ago when we had all kinds of records here in Myrtle Beach, and I just pick up people, and that's it.
On the tip side, I mean, there's a variability, right? I mean, there's no tips guaranteed. I'm actually amazed. Your numbers are probably as high as I've ever seen it or heard it. 40% is like crazy high. Usually it runs about 10% on average if you look at throughout the country. But obviously you're doing something right to deserve it. All right, Adolphus, how about you? Any slowdown, anything going on in your market that we should know of?
Yes, sir. I mean, things slowed down, but I never did. So I drove the entire time, and everybody's sitting at home collecting unemployment. But the key for me is to do the stuff that other people don't want to do. So I do the morning super early 04 to the airport runs, and that slowed down a little bit. But I also have to turn my request off because Lyft will start stacking people in my queue. And I don't like that because the customer, may change their mind or add a stop or whatever. But anyway, the key ingredient is to set up with the right vehicle. I've got a 2018 off-lease hybrid that I paid $2,000 down and $466 a month. So when you get, this kind of setup, and when I get the Marines that are calling me to Oceanside, well, if I get a call on base, that's one deal. But if I get a call off base to the airport in any direction, it's going to be $80 to $100 that I'm going to get. Okay. So that's why I got the whole base set up, and then I got the whole tracking system, like Jeff said, where you want to I have 4 years tracking on my wall in the kitchen. And so I know when the times are, when I had an LA run or when I had, whatever. Now that might be different, but when you start looking at the trends, it's still, I know that soon as 4th of July week hits all the way up until New Year's, that's when our market really takes off. I mean, it goes bananas. And that's kind of how it is today, where I wasn't planning on working. But Comic-Con is here. I was coming down here for you guys to be on the live show. But now that Comic-Con is here, you can make a killing and not take, because people don't want to go far. They want to go 2 miles. And then once Lyft and Uber start stacking those bonuses and zone pay and all that other stuff, it's a very lucrative business, especially when you get the calls on the bins, because somebody is going to want me to run them to LA. And I don't really like going to LA, but if somebody's got $300, I don't mind it so much because that's what the fare is, going over there. The dealers, I got to come back home. But when I get an LA run, I'm done for the day. $300.
Give me a call when you're here. So I'll buy you lunch or dinner.
Yes, sir. Right.
Sean, you're up. What do you see in your market? Is there a slowdown? And what are your specific things that you work on, like all these other guys are doing? Because in their markets, it seems like demand is there. They don't have to do anything special. They're just gonna pick everybody up and take them to where they're going.
So, because of the fact I no longer drive, I drove primarily for Uber for most of my rideshare career, air quotes. Now driving exclusively for Lyft, I've kind of had to recalibrate a lot. The one thing I have noticed, so I live about 50 miles northwest of Philly, about 20 miles southeast of Allentown. So I'm kind of like in this weird area where I don't, when people ask me where I drive, I say Southeast PA, because like you draw a 300-mile radius around where I live. That's my coverage area. I go anywhere anyone takes me. The one thing that I have changed since gas prices have increased, I find driving in the city to be too inefficient. You're sitting there driving. You're like, I don't have a EV or a hybrid. I drive a Kia Sportage. And for the most part, like when I'm in Allentown or I'm in Philly, put that, and I'm grinding it, I'm lucky to get 17, 18 miles to the gallon. Whereas if I sit there and I hit the outskirts, I hit all the suburbs, put that, I'm generally getting anywhere between 27 and 36 miles to the gallon, depending on how lengthy the rides are. Also, because the fact that I do cherry pick when I do see the trip duration. So I tend to, like, when I get above 90% and I get to see that, I start cherry picking until I get below that, and then I don't. So I don't have the luxury of filtering anything out at that point. So being out in the suburbs, I'm pretty much almost guaranteeing myself like a 10-minute ride every time that I drive. Whereas if I'm in the city, I may get that 10, 15 minutes in between each pickup and be busy all night. But people tend to not want to walk around in the city. Like they don't like, so most of my rides would be like 2 or 3 blocks down the road. It's not really efficient.
Tony, how about you, Tony? Anything changed over the last year with the slowing economy, inflation? Do you see a slowdown, especially on your higher end, since you're doing Lyft Lux and Lyft Black?
Yeah, there has been a little bit of a slowdown on that, but I think that's mainly because it's summer. Not that I believe totally in this summer slowdown, but a lot of the people that are going out for dates and stuff, they're probably out of town. But as far as the change I've noticed is, I don't think that demand has decreased or that we've increased drivers so much, other than like Uber and Lyft stopped putting so much surge out there, and they have cut the bonuses by like a third. So where I was getting $500 quests on Uber, now I'm getting like 150, and I'm not going to do 90 trips for $150. I'll just do luxury mode and make the same without busting my tail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's slower
I mean-
here. It's just they pay less now.
Okay. So I would say, at the end of every little question we have, let's have a consensus, like, we can raise hands or whatever. So none of you are seeing a slowdown, and not too many of you are seeing an oversaturated marketplace, right? Right? Because, I mean, to me, it's like LA obviously be different than you guys, but I'm my personal utilization rate's down to 60%. So 3 months ago was 98%, meaning 98% of the hour I had a passenger or was going to a passenger in the car with a passenger. Now it's down to 60%. So it's either too many drivers splitting the pie with too many different drivers, or less demand, because LA 98 to 60 is a pretty big number, and that matches my 2019 numbers, by the way. So
I do think
Levi,
that
you were saying,
I do think that what Tony said does need to be emphasized, though, about the reduction in incentivizations. That's
well, we're going to talk. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that. Yeah, substantially. Yeah, I mean, same thing here, but they promised they're going to cut everything for the drivers after their last earnings report, and they're following up on it. I mean, that's the way they can adjust their cost. So, they cannot cut the rates anymore, I think, from 60 cents a mile in LA. I mean, come on now. I think what they can do, they can, the variability of obviously incentives is something they can play with. So Levi, you were saying something?
No, I'm sorry.
No. Okay. All right.
Sir,
Chris, what's our next question? Yes, sir.
One thing I've actually talked to Uber and Lyft about the way they do their incentives. They explained to me that it goes by the revenue that the drivers in the area generate for Uber. So if everyone is having a bad week, the next week they're going to give a bad ride promotion. It's going to be bad. So like in my market, January, February is pretty terrible. So I was seeing ride promotions, do 40 rides during the week for like $20.
Yeah, but I mean, do you have to? But Sean, you have to look at the general trend. Like Tim, Levi, Tony, Jeff, Adolphus. If I asked them all, what was your quest like 3 months ago, and what is it today? I guarantee you, they will all say they're half or less. So the revenue for the driver has to come from somewhere, because for me and for 95% of Uber drivers, incentives are about 30 to 40% of their revenue base.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But like the point I'm trying to make is when I was driving for Uber last holiday season, like the month of November, I was getting promotions that were like 300 plus because everyone was just making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
But in January, no one's making any money. Like everyone, all the colleges are out of session. So there's no college crowd. There's no this, there's no that. No one wants to spend any money because they're in the red. And because of that, there is no, the promotions are just terrible. I mean, I can't speak now if they've cut them further, but
I mean, you have to believe one thing: Uber, and not to a certain degree, Lyft, but Uber is a data built company. I mean, these people pay more attention to data than anybody on the planet, more than Amazon probably. So what they do is, I mean, they have 11 years worth of data that they're constantly analyzing and learning from. And, that's a lot of data that they collected with billions of rides, but they have an asymmetric information advantage over you as a driver and over the passenger. And they are going to play that to the best of their ability. And when their CEO talks with cost variability, you're the cost. The driver is the cost. And they can do whatever the heck they want with that cost. So if they want to lower costs, they give you less incentives. Because I know from me that if they give me an incentive and I go out there and drive every ride, Uber losing money. They're not in the business of losing money. So to me,
right. And I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm just reporting to you what I'm just reporting to you what when I've had conversations with Uber and Lyft support. Take it as a grain of salt, but that's what they told me.
Don't believe a word of those people.
Well, I mean, sorry.
Not a word. Okay, so let's Chris, let's move into the juicy one. So Tim, go ahead, Chris. Let's see what Tim says about this one.
Which one? The number
The
two?
number two. Number two.
All
Everybody
right.
knows what it is. All right. Here we
So
go.
Tim, do you think that drivers are true independent contractors, or do you think there's something else?
So I guess it's important to disclose here that in my previous life, starting in 2004 and then also again in 2014, I was also a licensed and bonded independent contractor in the state of Oregon in the field of window covering. So basically a subcontractor in a minor construction classification. So in Oregon, they mandate ongoing education annually. And that education is predicated on keeping you aware of what an independent contractor is, what your rights are, and how to maintain and obtain your licenseship. So when I entered the RideShare workforce and was issued the independent contractor moniker, I was drastically taken aback by what little rights I had. So to cut this short, in my opinion, we're absolutely not independent contractors. The passengers and the companies have a disproportionate amount of leverage over our economic decisions and our overall well-being on the platforms. And there needs to be another classification. The tough part about this is the drivers need to have a robust enough influence in shaping that classification. And that's going to be the hard part, because we can't rely on representatives, that are maybe hearing our voice through pundency, but we need actual advocates in the driver community that are shaping these new decisions. And to finish that up, the only way that I think that we're an independent contractor right now is that we're taking on all the liability and risk. And that needs a drastic paradigm shift.
Okay, so you're saying we're not independent contractors. How about you, Levi?
Absolutely not.
Oh, I totally disagree with Tim. I do think we are independent contractors in the sense that I compare what I do now as a Uber driver compared to my previously executive salaried desk job. My previous job, my employer paid all of my benefits. They paid my FICO taxes, everything, or FICA taxes. And now I control everything. Now, granted, there are some odd things to way Uber and rideshare and work, but just comparing those two things, I think being a rideshare driver is much more as an independent contractor as opposed to working a 9-to-5 job, sitting at a desk.
Okay. So if I were to give you my famous example, which I did last week as well. As an independent contractor, I'm sure you have friends, electricians, air conditioning, plumber, contractors, things like that. Obviously, they have to spend to make money, which is, their tools and their cars, their vans, whatever not. However, as an independent contractor, they're able to name the price for the job. They know they can quote a price. And if the customer likes it, likes it. If the customer doesn't like it, they move on. As an independent contractor, in most cases, which I don't know if you're a diamond driver or not, they know what the job is before they get to the job site, as opposed to me going picking somebody up without knowing where the heck they're going. And the last one being is that, as a true independent contractor, when you are in the dark, like you don't know where the passenger is going, and if I called one of them up and said, "Hey, buddy, I have a job for you," and they go, "What is it?" And then you go, "No, I'm not going to tell you until you get here," they'll hang up on me. So to me, it's like, I think it's a fair comparison. Do you think it's a fair comparison, the one I brought up, or do you think you being able to turn the app on whenever and wherever you want gives you enough independence for you to take care of your own needs of healthcare and benefits and things like that?
I think
Do you think that's enough?
It's absolutely a fair comparison, because if somebody said, "Well, I'm on my way," let's use the Lyft switcheroo as an example. If somebody calls me and I'm on my way to their house and we've agreed in contract to something that I'm going to do and a fair price for it, and then they call me on the way over and say, "There's some other cat that I don't need you anymore. Some other cat needs you across town. I don't know his name and I don't know what it is." I can cancel that, with emphasis on this, without penalty. If I do that in the Uber and Lyft, I experience, as you did, Sergio, a good example was about a month and a half ago, I had to cancel 2 to 3 rides because the Lyft platform was sending me into an area where 2 homicides had occurred 24 hours previous. So out of concern for my own safety, I decided to cancel those 2 to 3 rides. As a result, they put me in a situation where I was at risk of suspension. and I had to do 10 rides consecutively back to back, and then also not cancel a ride in order to maintain my status on the platform. I don't see how that's in any way representative of independent contractorship.
Yeah, you're talking about the cancellation rehab school that I went through. Yeah, that's the one. Which I'm like, what kind of independence is this? I just canceled because I followed your guidelines, and that I'm not going to let a crackhead in my car, so let's move on. But she goes, no, you got to go do the school. So what do you say to all this, Levi? Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to change your mind. All I'm saying, we're just discussing it openly. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I understand from the pricing standpoint what you're getting at, but the price to me is zero or whatever they're going to offer. So yeah, I do set the price. The offer is $20 for this ride or $10 for this ride or whatever I might make. There's some hidden information, but I work as an independent contractor for a lot of different industries right now. And it's very similar in nature. When I produce videos for clients or whatever, sometimes the price is kind of set up front, but then things change over time. And so, yeah, you're just talking about price in terms of, whether I get to make that decision or not. And I still get to make that decision. So I'm still very independent. I think there's some legal things that Tim's addressing that I'm not smart to. So I'm not going to say, he's wrong in that area. I just feel like I'm independent as opposed to what I was before.
Okay, cool. How about you, Adolphus? Do you think we're ICs, true ICs?
We're definitely not true independent contractors because Lyft or Uber could change the rates anytime. I mean, and so you have no control, basically, if you can use the platform or not use the platform, but we're definitely not independent contractors.
Okay. How about you, Jeff?
Well, I've been a independent contractor driver or manager of drivers for over 30 years. I've supervised drivers, employee drivers, IC drivers. To me, clearly, we are independent contractors, and there are parameters that we have to work around. And I think the main difference, the main problem in this setup is that in all the other IC positions I've been, including as a courier for 3 years in Myrtle Beach, there's a contact that we work with. They're not a supervisor, but there's someone in courier situation. I had a supervisor in my warehouse. If there's a problem, if there's a question, there's someone to go to. In some of those situations, I've been that person. I had my own business for 12 years, mostly in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, delivering free magazines. I had 7 to 17 ICs. When anything happened, when there was a problem, all right, they didn't set the rates. I took care of that. But when there was a problem, there was a question, they knew they could talk to me, they could contact me, and I could solve the problem. The way I look at it is, just in finishing up, is I have a business relationship with Uber. When their customer calls them, they contact me to bring them to their location. All right. My job, my responsibility is one thing: drive the customer to the destination safely. All right. Uber has a relationship with the customers, and they do everything else. They do everything else. I do one thing. What I do is I take care of the customer, getting them to their location. So I absolutely believe I'm an independent contractor. I very much believe in it.
Okay, so when you were a courier yourself, right? You knew the job, what the job entailed, and you knew what you were going to get paid ahead of time, didn't you? That's how you took it. Because if they say, take this from here to there, 200 miles, we're going to pay you $30, you go, I'm not going to do it.
Well, I know what the pay rate is. I knew what the pay rate is, just like I know what the pay rate is now. People always say, well, I don't know what I'm getting paid. Well, you know what you get. You know how you get paid by distance and mileage. I like to, when I'm driving, I like to guess on what the amount is going to be. And when the amount comes up, I see how close I am.
But when
they're pretty close.
When Lyft switches you off to another passenger and takes all that information away from you, and your only option is to cancel under penalty, how is that being an independent contractor? You went from knowing exactly what your situation was to now knowing nothing. And if you cancel, you risk deactivation. How's that?
The other thing, Jeff, the other thing that I need to preface here is, before I forget, because I have ADD. So I don't know if any of you read the terms of service when they send you that 28 pages of legalities. You have to sign it to drive it, to have access to the app. I've written multi articles about this and I've read every word of it. According to the last one, Jeff, you are Uber's customer. The passenger is your customer. Go ahead and read it. Now, if that makes you Uber's customer, and Uber clearly indicates this in the TOS now, saying that we're merely a third-party agent taking a cut out of this deal, literally, and it's in there. Go ahead and read it. So to me, now that becomes a little bit more fishy, meaning that I am Uber's customer. They aggregate the rides out, and their algorithm decides who gets what. And on top of that, the passenger is my customer. I'm Uber's customer. So I'm like, maybe they're changing this because of some of the lawsuits that are about to come down the pipe. But think about this. So the irony is you're Uber's customer. The rider is your customer, but you don't get to name your price. Uber still, as a third party, names the price of the ride to the passenger that you have that is actually your customer. That's what Uber is saying. So go ahead and read that, and then we'll have another show about that. How about you, Sean? Do you think we're still IC?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm right on page. I'm right on board with what you and Tim said. I would really like to see and to take it one step further with that. I hadn't realized this, but basically Uber and Lyft have ripped off the model of the trucking industry since the 1980s, when I think it was Jimmy Carter, who was president at the time, deregulated the market and opened up owner operators and stuff like that in the trucking industry to basically the same pay structure and model that we're dealing with now. And coming to 2022 now, you're seeing a lot of businesses, whether it's Uber, Lyft, owner operators in the trucking industry, FedEx drivers, even nurses now are independent contractors now. I pick up a lot of nurses that are getting really boned right now because they're going through the whole IC, quote unquote, air quotes, structure, and it's really screwing over a lot of people. One of the telltale signs with getting to like Amazon and like all those deliveries, when you have time and you're in traffic, look on the box truck, and you'll see in the small fine print on the box truck who actually owns that fleet of cars, and that's the independent contractor that the driver works for.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what it is though? From Uber all the way up to Google, they're all doing this model now, right?
Right.
The IC model, and it seems like to me, that's the prevailing story, and that's what's going. They're trying to get rid of all the liability. So Google is hiring coders as independent contractors as opposed to employees now. So
yeah,
they're trying to make Tony. Yeah, sorry, Sean. How about you, Tony? Are we ICs or no?
I think under the technicality we are, but are we doing business with Uber and Lyft the way an IC would? I don't believe so, but Uber and Lyft have the upper hand on that, and they could easily fix that, but it would cost them too much money.
Yeah, well, I think do you? But when I talk about this issue, I mean, personally speaking, I think we're misclassified totally, but again, it's my opinion. So we have no consensus on this one. How about we got to bring Chris in to get consensus. Chris, do you think we're IC, bro?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
No.
Can I ask you a question, Sergio?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Why does it matter?
No, it matters because as an IC,
really,
I mean, you can't just say why does it matter and just lay down and take the way it is, because then that opens the other Pandora's box of, well, if you're not happy, don't do it, which I hear so many times, which I think we need to go a little deeper than that. I think we're all intelligent people, we're all educated people, as opposed to, because when you say that, Levi, that reminds me of 80% of the drivers in Miami who are Haitians who exactly do what Uber and Lyft want them to do, accept every ride, send money home, and desperation, all that good stuff. But none of us are in those shoes. I want to, if I'm going to be a true independent contractor, I want to name my price. Maybe it will get rejected by everybody and I'll be hungry, but that's the chance that I'm taking.
Right.
Okay. And to me, it's like, that's so important just for the fact that economically, even in these days, right? I mean, we're paying 3 times more for everything, or double, since 2019. I have no chance. As I see, I have a very good friend who's an air conditioning contractor. Every single quote he puts out is double what he put out because everything he's buying is double. But if I'm still getting paid 60 cents a mile and 21 cents a minute as it is in 2019, a set of tires cost me twice as much, and I cannot do anything about the price I charge, I feel lost. I don't think I should just sit there and take it. That's all I'm saying.
So you're saying
that's why it matters.
Yeah, you're saying that because there are people that are ignorant of the opportunity or what's being happening, they're being taken advantage of, and that's what you're concerned about.
And not only
I'm
that,
concerned about that. Yeah,
I would agree with Sergio, and then also add that we got to worry about this type of business model as being labeled an independent contractor and all the ambiguity that goes behind it with these shady platforms. We got to worry about that permeating into traditional workforce culture. So I think that if we're looking at it from a 30,000 foot perspective, we need to kind of take advantage of while these platforms are young and while they're still malleable, we need to start having a voice to kind of shape the structure of it before it kind of gets out of hand.
I mean, to me, honestly, they did bring that, by the way, Levi, because California, we had AB5 and Prop 22. I think AB5 was a horrible, horrible law. I interviewed the writer, Lorena Gonzalez from San Diego. I think it was rushed. It screwed actually a lot of good, true independent contractors. They should have maybe never done that law. And then Uber came with their Prop 22, which is another disaster now in California. So to me, it's like, what's the middle ground? Maybe they should just have some laws for rideshare or gig economy workers in general, not just rideshare, right? But I think to me, there has to be a different class created because there's close to 10 million gig economy workers in the country. That includes food delivery, Instacart, 2.5 million on Uber and Lyft. It's a massive amount of people decided to do this, just like we all did. But I'm not saying that I should write the law, but I'm saying at some point I should have a say in what I'm going to get paid for a job, with the chance that I will get declined and not get the job, just like a true independent contractor does. And if I know you drive an economical car, Jeff does, so do I, but I see a lot of newer cars out there with depreciation going through the roof, and these people have no clue. I know we all do our numbers, we're good with that stuff, but I wish some education of the driver is brought to the front by Uber and Lyft, as opposed to just saying, go ahead and accept every ride, we'll be fine. Algorithm will fix everything. It doesn't, but we're not going to agree on everything.
Sergio.
Yeah.
They need to do something like what the FCC did with Title II, with ISPs.
Okay.
They need to sit there, like when they created Title II for that, they pretty much made it so that there was that an ISP couldn't throttle bandwidth if a competitor was doing something with that, and it basically made this separate classification specifically for ISPs. They need to do something that for the gig economy.
Okay.
That's why I'm kind of excited about hearing from a Seattle driver or something like that about the new bill that was passed out in Washington and whatnot.
Well, New York and Seattle have that. I'm very curious how that's working out, honestly.
Exactly.
I mean, they're because Uber and Lyft business has not gone down in those cities. It's as strong as it was. I don't know if you going to New York City, Levi, but their business has not slowed down, and they violently opposed all these benefits that the drivers were going to get. And Seattle followed up, and now they have $1.35 a mile and 38 cents a minute, as opposed to my 60 and 21 in LA. And business has not slowed down for Uber and Lyft. So I don't know. Maybe there has to be some sort of freedom when it comes to naming my own price and knowing what the job is ahead of time. To me, as an independent contractor.
One more thing, Sergio, before we go off topic. I don't know how many of you drivers sit there and drive as much, drive into different areas like I do, but going back to the concept of when you signed up for this, your rate card, but that rate card changes if you take a long distance ride. Yeah. If I take a ride in New York City or to Jersey, go to Delaware or whatever, something that I'm allowed to do, my rate goes from 15 cents a minute, 82.5 cents a mile, to like 24 cents a minute and 60 cents a mile. Like, and I'm not aware of that at all until I see the way bill.
Well, every city has got different rates, so that's the other thing. I mean, there is no universal stuff.
You don't, but you're basically naive, like not necessarily naive, but like you're just unaware of that, and you just take that long ride. I mean, I go to New York City for that, drop off someone at JFK, and my pay structure is completely different.
Yeah. Well, you cannot pick up there anyway once you drop off.
Well, no, I can't pick up, but I can take you there.
Yeah,
I've
I
been
know
to New
you
York
can.
City. I've been to New York City like 3 dozen times in the last 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is near and dear to my heart. Driver safety, right? What do you think, Tim?
So I think at the very least, passengers should need to provide a valid form of ID, a photo, and a name that matches the identification. Okay. I think at the very least, I think it's unrealistic. I used to be on board with, everybody taking a background check, but of course that's just going to reduce a lot of ridership. And I battled back and forth with it because the argument was, well, then that's more incurred cost by the platforms, but yet they also incur the cost of doing background checks on a workforce that 70 to 80% of them disappear within the first 6 months, right? So I'm not sure that there is much they can do. I mean, from an actual safety ride-to-ride standpoint, I think it really relies on the intuition and the wherewithal of the driver. But I do think that identification and at least a photo and a realistic name need to be instituted.
I agree on that one. How about you, Levi?
Yeah, I totally agree with the realistic name and a photo, because one thing about driving in Syracuse is, I'm basically replacing the bus, which means I take primarily low income people to and from work. And I'm driving in really, really bad neighborhoods. And it's pretty unsafe. There's been 3 carjackings of Uber drivers here in Syracuse over the last few months. And it's young kids that are trying to go joyriding and stuff. They don't take Prius, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, I think it's extremely dangerous. And I'm going into every situation really unknowing. I do some things to, we can talk about what I do for safety, but yeah, it's definitely dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. I mean, we talk
I
about
never put my car in park. I always keep like at least 10 feet from me and the car in front of me. I never, in the bad neighborhoods, I never pull over to the side. I stop right in the middle of the road. I don't go over to the curb. And definitely once it gets really bad, starting right around sunset is when it gets really bad, especially when the sun's out, guns out kind of deal. Yeah, it gets really, really bad. We have I don't know about you guys, but we have fireworks wars in Syracuse, right? So the kids run around shooting fireworks at cars.
At each other? Oh, at cars?
Yeah, it gets pretty nuts. Yeah, so you just gotta know what neighborhood you're in, and I keep my car, and I think to myself, if it's a bad situation, I'm hitting the gas, and until I wreck, I'm not decelerating. I'm just gonna go as fast as possible.
Can I add one super fast thing to piggyback on Levi? So I think that we also need to examine and redefine what discrimination means in terms of this work, because if I'm not going into an area because, like what Levi is saying, something is happening, or like in my former thing that I went through where 2 homicides had occurred, I don't want my character to be called into question just because I'm trying not to get shot. I'm not dismissing that rider, that area, because a certain percentage of a certain culture lives there. And I think that we need to kind of redefine area discriminatory as that pertains to the platform.
Yeah. Well, so we all know what happened in Portland. Like, how did you handle that situation when the riots were going on? I mean, you were in the middle of it probably, right? So if somebody asks you to give you a ride to the middle of a riot, what do? You go, no, I'm not going to take you there. And if the passenger complains, you're deactivated. There you go. So how good is that?
Right. I mean, it took a lot of quick thinking and quick talking. And there was a lot of times when I didn't know a situation was going on. So I would go to an area and they're lighting the police precinct on fire. So, there's situations that were just unavoidable. And I just try to get people as close as I can, but at the same time, try to negotiate my way out of a bat. It's just, de-escalation and quick thinking.
And Sergio, just the small markets, that means I'm always 5 minutes from a bad neighborhood, always, because it only takes 10 minutes to get across town, right? So I'm always, like, every other ride, I'm in one of those neighborhoods. So if I'm going to be an Uber driver, I literally have to be able to navigate those situations all the time.
Yeah, you have to look out for yourself ultimately. I mean, Adolphus, how about you? As an ex-military man, you're a tough guy. You can handle anything, I have a feel like.
Right. Well, the main thing that I do is I don't do the nights. So unless it's someone that calls me that's going to do an airport run or something like that, but I'm a day driver. Specifically, I specialize in early morning airport runs and the base. And between those two, it's the safest place to be because, all the bad guys are not up yet when I'm getting up and doing my thing. So, and I'm not out late. I'm usually at home by, 1 o'clock, unless it's busy. And if it's super busy, I might stick around, but very rarely do I work past 5 o'clock. So I like to make my money early, and I go home early.
Yeah.
So how many of you work at night? Not me. Like past 9 o'clock, let's say. Past 9 o'clock? Past 9 p.m.? I'm not working past 9 p.m.
Yeah, I work nights when the college kids are in town. Yeah, I work to about 2 a.m. when the college kids are in town, but I pretty much stay on campus. What I do is I do a lot of rides during the week, 5 a.m. till about noon, and that builds up my acceptance rate. And so when the college kids are in town over the weekends, I can be much more discerning about which rides I take at night.
Yeah, so you do the split shift.
That also kind of calls into question our actual flexibility, though, doesn't it? Because if you don't drive certain times, then you're not going to make the money that the platforms promise.
Yep, that's true.
I understand. Yeah.
How about you, Jeff? Safety.
I don't know what that was. I just drive during the day. Very rarely I'm ever in a dangerous situation, but obviously there are a lot of nighttime drivers, and I give them a lot of credit for what they do. Yeah. I think a picture and a real name is a minimal what they have to do. They just have to keep working on getting it safer and some of the things that they're doing. But the picture and the real name, I mean, when I pick up a guy named Unbreakable, and I did this week, Saturday, I picked up Unbreakable. I said, so how did you get that nickname? He said, it's not an interesting story, which I was disappointed because I have a lot of great name stories. But anyway,
I'm sure. But I mean, as far as the driver safety, we talked about this last week. Like, it seems like every day there is a carjacking, stabbing, shootout. I mean, what's going on, right? Maybe it's in general stuff is going sideways, but we hear it more often. I'm 100% sure that Uber is not going to change that rule because they want on board as many passengers as possible, good, bad, sideways. But I think, do you think? I mean, Sean, do you think enough is being done for driver safety?
No, but honestly, what can they do? Like one thing that I was just saying this to my mother last night. The one thing I'll hand to Lyft is at least they don't bullshit you. You sit there and you get a ride with no profile picture. The person's name is Princess and they have a 4.9 rating. You take the ride and it's some buff black dude or something like that. It's like, oh, all right, pick up for Princess. Let's roll the dice. I'm in a gambling mood. Let's see where this is going. The one thing I will say is, I am totally against everything that RideShare Professor has been trying to adamantly push with asking for background checks, and if you have a felony conviction or something like that you can't ride on the platform. I think that's complete bullshit. Excuse my language. We're all inherently. All human beings are inherently good and evil. We're all capable. I'm just as capable of murder as a felon. Yeah. I actually know someone who has to check that box every job application, and he's a good kid. He unfortunately did something that he probably shouldn't have done in his 20s, but for the rest of his life, he's boned. And if something like this happens, he can't take an Uber to work. Like, I'm sorry, that's crossing the line. There's really no thing that there's going to be no perfect example ever. It's basically like you're just going to have to roll the dice. You're going to have to be prepared, be aware of your situation. Don't do nights if you don't feel comfortable doing nights. It's one thing I changed because of the pandemic and not having the bar crowd, the strip clubs anymore. Doing the business crowd is the best thing to do.
Okay, Tony, are you allowed to pack in Denver?
Yeah, I mean, I have a permit, but policies are policies. Just don't say it. Anyways, but Lyft does allow pictures, but you can upload a picture of your cat if you wanted to, or a color of the rainbow. Doesn't matter. Like, so if the apps at least did the same thing that it does for us, where, well, at least on Uber's app, they verify your face with your ID. That would be great. So that person's photo is actually that person. And then making them use their real name. I don't care if it's their nickname based off their real name. Like, I'm Anthony, but I go by Tony. That's fine. And then, allowing us to be able to protect ourselves without being deplatformed would be great. Yeah.
I mean, so what? Everybody come up with their craziest fake name pickup. How about you, Tim?
Oh, straight killer, 8-ball. I mean,
how about you, Levi?
I don't remember any of them, but we get a lot of Chinese students at Syracuse, so I can't say any of those names. Yeah.
Oh, okay. How about you, Adolphus?
I haven't had that problem because of the markets that I work.
So I'm doing the military. All day long. That's why.
Straight up. Doing the military, and I'm doing the business crowd personnel, so I don't get that.
Jeff has got some, I know.
I've got about 80 different names I've kept track of with stories and all. There's everything under the sun. That one woman got her name is Jansen. Her mom named her because she was in a store and she named him after the bathing suit company.
How about you, Sean?
No, generally the only thing that like I run into are ethnic sounding names, and I get to perpetuate my whiteness by trying to say them. And sometimes I get them right, sometimes I get them wrong. But like usually, it's always it's weird. It's almost like it's always like the tough brawn dudes will try to do a casual soft name like Princess or Cupcake or something like that, and it kind of like just like what? Like, okay, fine. I mean,
how about you, Tony? I mean, mine was Killer, and then the other day I picked up a Genesis, and I'm like, for a rideshare driver, Killer is not a good passenger.
Right.
And I picked the guy up. It was like 8 a.m, and I'm like, bro. I go, look at this. And he goes, yeah, it's funny. I go, not to me. I mean, you want me to pick a guy up named Killer as a rideshare driver? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I've picked up John Cena. Usually it's some celebrity name, and it's not the celebrity. But I do pick up celebrities too. I've picked up several Broncos players, some Avalanche people, and just different actual people. But one thing I wanted to mention as far as safety as well is Uber does have the PIN system. If they would enforce everybody having to use that, then nobody would have to say the say my name bullcrap. The people too lazy to verify your license plate, if we could verify a PIN, that'd be phenomenal.
I 100% agree. I think the PIN system is great, but it will eliminate a lot of problems on both ends, I think. I don't know. So what's up next, Chris?
All right. Well, we kind of touched upon this a little bit before, but what is your opinion with unjust deactivations?
Cheers, everybody.
This is where I might be a little bit idealistic. So I think that for deactivation that involves passengers, interaction, and accusations, There should be a phone call involving both parties and a representative from the company. So if the passenger elects to not be a part of the call, the issue should be dismissed. For deactivation stemming from alleged driver behavior not involving a passenger, you should be able to receive a transcription of your questionable activity and be able to submit individual responses to each accusation. Just because there are too many situations that are beyond our control and we have such a limited amount of options to react, and the options that we do have to react are often thwarted by penalization.
Yeah,
I'm going to send that to Dara because that's as good as you can say it. So go ahead.
yeah, that was a really good idea.
That
I
was
like
perfect,
that
Tim.
people getting on there.
That was
Tim.
amazing idea. Go ahead.
That's a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm deathly afraid of being deactivated. I'm a 5-star driver. I've had 5 stars for the last 8 months now. I haven't had 0, 1-star, 2-star, 3 stars, or 4-star ratings. I do just as well as Jeff on the tips too. Yet I think almost every ride, it's just going to take one person to say something, and I'm going to get kicked off, right? So that's why I'm always cleaning my car between rides. I always wipe it down after I get a pot smoker out of the car because I'm always afraid somebody's going to smell it and think that I'm smoking pot. So I'm always very conscious of it.
Yeah. How about you, Adolphus?
Well, I recently, well, not recently, but a long time ago, got a fraud activity suspicion thing, and that's why I turned Uber off. So once they started that, I'm like, you know what, Uber, I'm going to deactivate you. Now they're sending me emails all the time. Hey, Adolphus, get back on the road and go make that $39 an hour. I'm like, man, nope. But I have had no problems at all on Lyft. And like I said, once Lyft came up with that base mode thing, it's like, hey, well, that's where I wanted to be anyway. And when I don't drive on base and I'm picking my neighbors up to go to the airport or Walmart or whatever, I don't have any problems. I haven't had any problems in the 6.5 years with Lyft. So that's why Lyft became my main one, because they just seem to be, they had their stuff together a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, look, I understand everybody knows somebody who's deactivated, but unjustly it's kind of unfair because it's ending like Levi. You're saying, there goes your $1,000 a week. Now what, right? Because you have adjusted pretty much everything you do according to your income. And, you live a life that you know what you need to survive, not survive, but live comfortably. So if that's taken away from you by some passenger and you cannot voice your opinion, right, at some sort of human level, right, because we know it's impossible. I mean, 1.5 billion rides Uber did in 2019, $1.5 billion. How many people complained? Which algorithm did it go to? How many people got unjustly deactivated? Nobody knows these things, right? So how about you, Jeff? Do you know anybody unjustly deactivated, or what do you think we should do about that?
Well, first of all, no driver should ever be deactivated without notice. If they're not telling you that there's a problem, how do they take you off? I had a few years ago, I drove down to Charleston, over an hour away. I went on to Uber. I couldn't get on. I call them up and they tell me, well, my driver inspection has to be uploaded again. I said, I haven't uploaded a new one in months. Why would it have to be uploaded now? Well, it's not clear. I said, well, how could it not be clear? I've been driving. So I wasn't going to turn around and go home. So I drove on Lyft all day, several emails, few phone calls. On the way home, I'm talking to a manager and he says, well, I can't understand how you've been driving all these 5 months. 5 months. He wants to know, how are you driving for 5 months without being approved? I said, well, the only way I could drive is that I was approved. There was some kind of computer glitch. I uploaded it and I was driving the next day, but I lost the day.
Yeah. Well,
that should never happen. Someone had to have common sense at Uber support and look and say, well, it's 5 months. He's been driving for 5 months. It's 5 months old, and no one could take care of that. So
I mean, I do see their point, because they have to automate all this human intervention, because 2 million drivers, millions of rides every day. Who knows how many hundreds of thousands of complaints every day. And if everything went to a human, there would be no time. I mean, they'll be so far behind. They had to hire like 1 million people to figure all this out. So it goes to truly, I know this for a fact, it goes to an algorithm. And if a passenger complaint entails driver intoxicated, marijuana, automatic deactivation. I mean, there is no ifs and buts about that. You're gone. So to me, it's like maybe there is a different way. So I'm trying to figure out if there is a better way for drivers not to lose their livelihood. So I don't know. Sean, how about you?
Well, if you guys don't know a deactivated driver, you do now, because as of April, I've been deactivated from Uber. Unjust. They spot checked my car insurance, and they said that was fraudulent. And do not pass go. Do not click $200. Boom, gone. I dropped off a couple. They were doing grocery shopping at Walmart. I dropped them off at their place. As soon as I ended the ride, boom, done, gone. Called up the support. Of course, I couldn't understand them because, I mean, of just how terrible customer support is. They put the appeal process in, which was just 3 days of sitting on my hands and just getting the same result. And it's been that way ever since.
So you're not back on? You're not back on?
No. I even got I got so pissed that excuse my language. That I actually told them over the phone that I want all my account information deleted. I will not ever sit there and drive for you guys. I will never sit there and order Uber Eats. I will not do anything whatsoever. I will sit there and adamantly push against you.
So just for insurance form, they deactivated you, and you couldn't upload a new one, and nothing?
And just like Jeff with the inspection sticker, all my documents were submitted. And I don't know how it works in other states, but like we have 6-month terms on our insurance, so I was still maybe had 2 months left on my insurance. My inspection sticker was the only thing that had to be updated because my insurance is up at March every year. My registration doesn't expire until August, so all my documents were uploaded. Everything was fine. Just one day that was it. That's the whole shebang. You know, I was out all my money. I've thought about fighting and getting a lawyer, but as a lot of people say, it's a blessing in disguise. You know, it's pushed me to do other things with my time. Drive for Lyft, get my LLC, do what RideShare Professor's been adamantly telling everyone to do. Go private. Screw this.
Yep.
Screw you guys.
I'm
going home.
Tony,
Sorry.
how about you? On just deactivations. I mean, you were literally everybody here is one complaint away from bye-bye.
Yeah.
No joke.
I definitely disagree with it. What I can do about it, I'm not sure I can do anything about it, but the only people I have heard of are on YouTube. But I don't really know a whole lot of local drivers here. So that may be why I don't know somebody, but even like big YouTubers get deactivated and for no reason.
That's why they become YouTubers, I guess. That's what
you
get deactivated.
I mean, at least they get that little bit, but they end up having to drive for one platform only.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to me, it's like deactivation is in everybody's future, pretty much, because, you know, I'm really trying to figure this out. I've had conversations with Uber execs, and I go like, why would you deactivate without finding out the other side story? Like, you know, why? I mean, in this country, right, you're innocent until proven guilty. You're not guilty until you're proven innocent. So I've had many drivers contact me and say, I know that this happened and passenger complained and I'm gone. I'm like, yeah, the guy's making $1,200-$1,500 a week for his family, and then now what does he do, right?
What's
So to
infuriating
me, it's like,
you have a dash cam, you can prove demonstrably that you're innocent.
They will not take it. They will not take it. Yeah. I mean, they won't take it. I don't know why. Do you I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Why don't they? Does everybody here have a dash cam, by the way?
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
I do.
Jeff, you need a dash cam. I mean,
no thanks.
No? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You know, I
tips?
use the dash cam primarily for my unsafe neighborhoods. I don't think it's going to matter, but what I try to tell them is I tell them it uploads automatically to the internet, so it's live, and I say, hey, look, you can see my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. No. The new ones are great. That even if they do take your dash cam,
yeah, it's like it's already uploaded to the internet. I try to lie a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. They should be able to watch at least the dash cam footage and or talk to you, because I think it's totally unjust that when a passenger goes, I'm trying to get $8 back because I think Uber ripped me off, and I'm going to tell the Uber lords that this guy was drunk and bye, see you later. So I hope it never happens to any of you, although it happened to Sean. But
Sergio, going kind of like hitting on what Levi was just saying about bad neighborhoods. The one thing that kind of going back to safety for that, the one thing that I do, if your neighborhood has trash on the street, I will not drive in your neighborhood. That is like the telltale sign of a bad neighborhood. I will not go. I will take you there. I will get out immediately.
Okay.
You couldn't drive in Syracuse.
Well, I mean, that's the one thing I noticed. Like when I go into Philadelphia and I go into certain spots, the filth on the streets, I definitely don't want to be there. I've had passengers that were like parents. They were just visiting for the first time to like meet their son or daughter or whatever. They go into the ghetto and it's like, oh my God, my kid lives here. And it's like, that's life. That's just how it is. If you go to Allentown, you go to East Side Allentown, where it's basically a barrio. Yeah. Get in, get out. You see trash on the ground, get out.
So 1 to 10, Tim, give me a number for Uber support and Lyft support.
2.
How about you, Levi?
Oh my God, I'm gonna sound like an Uber fanboy, but it's like 8 or 9. Every time I've called, I'm a diamond driver, so every time I call, I get an immediate response and I get exactly what I want.
Okay. How about you, Adolphus?
I'm pretty much not driving for Uber right now.
Okay. How about Lyft support?
I haven't had a problem with Lyft.
Okay. How about you, Jeff?
Well, I think it seems to me I've had better experiences in the last year and a half, but overall, the best I could give them really is a 4. And there's a lot. There's a lot of problems with it. A lot of.
Okay.
That's something I think that can be improved.
I 100% agree with you. How about you, Sean?
My problem with both support is just the policies that are implemented. Yesterday, I had a passenger who I picked her outside of Temple Hospital. She got in my car. I don't usually let outside food. She opened up a bag of like crackers, and I swear she got more on the floor and the seat than she got in her face. Quickly got off and went to her drug den or whatever, a hole that I dropped her off at, and I immediately reported it, took photos of it. I mean, it's just crackers. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything big, but at least with Uber in that regard, you take the photo, you clean up the mess, you get on your way, you look at your phone maybe an hour, 2 hours, because I've had people get sick in my car, and you'll eventually get that $150, $200 cleaning fee. This Lyft, it's company policy that you can't take another ride until they investigate the matter. So I basically,
what do you give him? 1 to 10.
I mean, Lyft.
Grade.
2. It's it's more of a policy issue. It's not necessarily people.
Okay. How about you, Tony? If you dealt with support.
Yeah. Well, nothing triggers me more about doing Uber than Uber support. I give them a negative 10.
A negative 10?
Hey,
Dara, are you watching this?
Yep.
I never call unless I actually really need something. If it's like a cancellation for like $5 or whatever, I do it on the automated thing, and it either gives it to me or don't. And if I call, they're not going to give it to me anyways. But if I really need something, I call. The only support that I actually get help from is the safety line. So if I report something that's a safety related thing, like I had some teenagers that their dad ordered a ride for me, and I asked the dad, are your kids over 18 and do they have ID? Yes and yes. I get there, no ID, so I'm like, no trip. they'd start swinging golf clubs at my car and everything. And so I got out of there, called 911 myself. I don't care about Uber's ADP thing. Police come, handle the situation. And then I actually received a phone call because after I got off the phone with 911, I called Uber as well while I was on the trip so that they would know what's going on so I don't get deactivated. And then maybe like 10 minutes later, I got a phone call from a safety person that's here in the US, actually here in Denver. And then they followed up with me for like a week and a half every day. That's the only support that was worth it. And then the hub support is pretty good if their ability to help you is not hindered by their crappy computer system. And
to their credit, it does sound like a pretty dope job when you can have roosters in the background.
Yeah, well, I don't understand. Is everybody here a diamond driver? Because every time I call, and I call only like, let's say every 2 or 3 months I call, maybe once every 2 or 3 months. I don't call very often, but I'm a diamond driver and I get right through.
Levi, why are you diamond, Levi? Why are you diamond?
Why am I a diamond?
Yeah,
you're blue.
I've been blue for 7 years.
Why am I a diamond? 2 things. Number one, when I first started doing this, a friend of mine was a blue, and then I had already gotten diamond, and my my quests were larger than his. So I
took that away.
No, I think I still get better quests. I've checked with another guy.
You do.
No, you don't. You get the same quest.
You get the same quest, but as you progress in the tiers, the money gets exponentially better.
Exponentially?
In Denver, yes. They took that away.
I'm a diamond on both platforms. That's how it works.
I haven't checked in a couple of months, Tony, so I don't know for sure. But
in Denver, they took that away.
But I plug my Prius in next to another guy that plugs his Prius in, and he's the guy that's blue. He's like, don't take every ride. He keeps his acceptance rate really low. Well, number one, he got kicked off the app. But number two, my quests were always bigger than his. Like by $100.
How about you, Jeff? Are you diamond? Yeah, I'm sure you are.
No, platinum.
Oh, is that above diamond? Or I don't know. No. Okay. How about you, Tim? Are you diamond, platinum? Where are you at?
Oh no, I think I'm lucky to be like blue or gold. I don't drive full time anymore. When I was full time, I think I was platinum-ish. Yeah, but super quick,
I'm blue.
I don't trust customer support because their MO more often than not is to stonewall and just log the event to protect the companies, not to benefit you in the scenario in any way.
But you know, the other reason why I'm a diamond driver is because when I call customer support, I get somebody like the minute I can call between rides, and within 5 minutes before I pick up my next passenger, they've given me the money.
Okay, so I am blue. I had to call support twice now in a month, right? So both times I ended up once in Chicago. I'm not going to name the support person's name, and once in Austin. I have a very good friend of mine who drives in LA. He's a diamond driver.
Yeah.
He calls and he gets to Philippines every time, and he has to go through the maze of clicking it. So he goes, I think you're tagged. I think they tagged your account because you're on YouTube. Or I go, are you nuts? I go, why would they do that? So to me, I'm not sure diamond gives you more than anything else. I think maybe it's in the perception.
No, the people that I call are in the Philippines for sure, no doubt. Yeah, they're not in America, but they still saw.
I'm a blue driver, but that's what support tells me.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I do enough trips that I would be diamond, but I don't do all their stupid requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that, diamond is not easy. But you know, if you feel like you're getting more money, by all means, I would.
I may not be anymore.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, I'm not checking it all the time, but about 3 months ago, was the last time I checked, and the guy that plugs his Prius in next to me, I was looking at our quests. I was like, dude, it's $600 this week. And he's like, oh, mine's only $450. And that's maxing out, at the top.
$600?
Yeah, we had a $600. Yeah, when the kids come back to school, the quests get crazy here in Syracuse. Yeah.
Jeff is shaking his head. He goes like, I haven't seen $600 quest ever. I mean,
half of that.
Half? Yeah, really? That's horrible.
All right, so I'll give you one quick story about it. What a lot of the reason why there's a lot of Uber drivers that try to do the blue, they only accept short rides because if they can get 70 rides in a weekend, they'll get, $400, $600 or whatever. And we can do like six rides an hour though.
Yeah.
So they're doing like, one guy I know, he was doing like all 70 rides in like 14 hours.
To get the extra cheese.
To get the quest. He'd hit the quest. He'd work all day Friday and then go back to work for like 2 more hours on a Saturday. And that's how he hit his quests. And he was doing like $1,000 a week, working only like 15 hours. Yeah.
See?
But he got kicked off the app.
Happening.
Why did he get kicked off the app?
Because I think Uber is looking at his acceptance rate. His acceptance rate was like 20%. And I think slowly but surely that it just kept going down and down. And he called me. He's like, I'm off. I got kicked off the app. And he doesn't have a bad rating. He's got, like a 4.9 something. But yeah.
I don't know about that. I think there is something other than that going on, because acceptance rates, according to Uber anyway, acceptance rates don't mean anything. Well, they shouldn't.
Cancellation doesn't either.
Yeah. But just to be clear, I see somebody in the chat saying my quest this weekend is only 185 though.
Okay. What's your quest? Your quest this weekend.
My quest this weekend?
Hold top on. Quest. I know what mine is.
Let's see here. Why it logged me out for some reason. I don't know. So I have to log back in.
Okay.
I'll pause.
Mine is like $220 for 90 trips, which I'm not going to do this weekend. All right. So this next one, we're going to hit fast and hard. I know Jeff doesn't agree with it, but we're going to do it anyway. So, okay. The number one topic used to be rates. We're not making enough money. 90 trips for, is that 320, Tony?
365 for 90.
Hey, Weezu,
320 for
you're
80.
in the wrong.
Yeah,
you're in the wrong state, bro.
So there you go. Mine's right there.
60.
I don't know if it's all blurry. Sorry. Yeah, it's
just read it. Just read it. 64.
It's 185 for 70 this weekend.
$3, less than $3. Not that
So
mine's $4.
I can do that in about 20 hours.
But to do 90 in a weekend, that's almost, to me, it's like, wow,
right. Well, about 3 weeks ago, they changed it from having to do 60 to 90.
Keeps going up.
Yeah. Like, I would go diamond driver if they made the quest, like, where if my top tier was 365, I only had to do like 30 trips.
Yeah. But Jeff, so I got your numbers, by the way. Your incentives are down, what, 75% from year to year, July last year to July this year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Literal.
Yeah. It's way down. Yeah.
Why? You're an amazing driver.
Oh, yes.
So you have no control over that. There is your independence. Okay. So other than people not making money, which I don't think is true, people are making plenty of money if you hustle. Okay. That one thing I agree with all you guys who like Uber. I love Uber. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for people who have no outs. If you watch last week's show, they had 2 or 3 drivers there that the guy goes, if I don't do this, what am I going to do? I'm making $2,500 a week. What am I going to do? Right. So to me, it gives a lot of people a lot of opportunity. It gives a lot of people a chance to move on and do something else and whatever they need to do. And it's good money, man. You're not going to go make $1,500, $2,000 a week. Like this week, I know Tim's going to kill it on Lyft. So where are you going to make that kind of money? Who's going to give you that? And then you go, oh, by the way, I'm going to clock out now. I'm like, really? Just right. So, but the biggest discussion these days is the take rate, right? We all know what that is. Take rate, like how much Uber takes of the rides or Lyft does. Lyft kind of hides all that stuff because you get it 2 weeks later, but Uber is like live on the spot. Tim, what do you think about Uber and Lyft's take rate?
There's too much ambiguity. There's too many variables, and it's exhausting to try to keep up with what your take rates actually are. They've been proven in the past to manipulate the numbers when it comes to fees and tips. Okay. And the only accurate way to do it is to return to a straight percentage system, but I don't think that that's possible anymore now that their feet are being held to the fire by the investors, because I don't think a straight percentage system is going to get them the profit they need to deliver to their investors.
That's cool. How about you, Levi? Do you agree with their take rate of 50, 60% or 40%, whatever in your case it may be?
It's got to be like 50.
Do you even pay attention to it? Do you pay attention to it?
I do pay attention to it, and I understand the frustration, but again, I'm not an Uber fanboy. There's a lot of problems, but I think these issues are issues that are well within my control. I don't care if they took 100, 90% of it. I don't care. I know what I bring home. My goal is to hit my number, and so I don't really care what they take.
Yeah, I agree with that kind of actually, just for the fact that I don't think their take rate is that high. If it was that high, they'd be profitable and their stocks would be quadruple of what it is today. How about you, Adolphus? Well, Adolphus is like, wait, do you know what? Adolphus we can call Lyft of the Marines. He's base in, base out, base in, base out. What's happening there?
Lyft has been an absolute blessing for me. The numbers just seem to be more honest, and that's why I turned Uber off too, because Uber, you always got to check the math, and then they're always having you log back on and take your picture in the middle of the ride. I'm like, look, it's just too much. And so Lyft, basically, like I said, since they have been so receptive, to suggestions that I've made to them, that's why I made them my main. So the rates out here, they're great. They're great.
So you can do Uber, but you're only doing Lyft?
That's correct.
Oh, so you don't want Uber to miss you?
Well, Uber, like I said, my money is always funny with them. They're always taking more. I mean, so when I first started, Lyft didn't have a luxury platform. So Uber was my main. So back in those days, from my house to the airport was $100. Now, if you take somebody calls for Uber, Uber's probably going to charge you more than that, but you're only probably going to see about $50.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I turned them off. I'm like, look, if I turn on Lyft, it seems like their numbers are okay and the pay is higher. So that's why I don't turn Uber on. Well, I do turn it on sometimes, but like I said, when I get the request, Uber hides the information from me. So I don't know if I'm going to LA or not. And I need to know that because I might have something else to do. So usually when I call and turn on both apps, 90% of the time, people that are looking for like the business class, the luxury lane, they call me on Lyft first because they're comparing the prices. And so that's where I get the calls.
Okay. I mean, that's the other thing, that us not seeing destination is bullshit. We need to see destination, man. We need to know where these people are going before we just kind of.
Right. And then too, Lyft, makes me a platinum driver. And so they give me 2 extra destination filters. But most of the time I don't use them because if I get a Marine that calls me in Oceanside, that's going to put me in the middle. So I don't need to put the destination filter on it because if somebody's need the airport run in either direction, it's going to be $80 to $100.
Wow. Okay.
So when I get those calls, great. But when I'm just taking somebody across the street or whatever, so that's why I don't cherry pick. I take pretty much anything that they'll send me because I'm going to give that customer my phone number, in case they need to go to the airport. So that's how I've been able to stay busy. And I've actually been like just as busy now. I mean, this has been the slow period, so everything kind of slowed down. But now that July 1st is here, and now that everything is open back up again, good gracious, we're about to go to the bank.
See, that's what I love to hear. Bank. How about you, Jeff? Is it okay to take 50-60% of your money? Not your money.
Well, as you know, you did an analysis of 800 rides.
Yeah.
They don't take that much typically on all the rides. I know. I checked my numbers 3 different times over the last year and a half or so. I always got at least 60%. If it's a $6, $7, $8 ride, of course they're going to take about 50%. There's nothing there to take. Yeah. They pay me, and what's left over, they take. I'm mildly interested on what they make on some rides, but look, if they're going to gouge their customer, it's their customer. I know what you said before, but still, it's their customer. I don't have the blood on my hands. I haven't done anything. I don't set the rates. It's there. I think it's a bad call. I think it's bad business, but if they want to do it, they do it. I'm not involved.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. And they don't take actually that high if you consider all your incentives.
Exactly.
If you don't, then
you
it's
have
a
to look
story.
at the whole picture.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing, right? A lot of drivers don't put anything on spreadsheets, figure out what's going on, what's not going on, and then when I do put those out, they go like, "Oh, you're Uber shill. Oh, you're this." I'm like, bro, it's like 9% these people make.
Exactly.
What do you want me to say? But I think the general perception is that their take is so high that it makes every driver hate Uber, pretty much. And
Well,
I'm
it's
like,
higher than it was 6 or 7 years ago, of course.
it's higher than a year ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
By how much?
Solid 9% overall. 16 to 27% they have gone up.
I'm always taken aback by how
Okay.
little most drivers, especially new drivers, are informed about how the business model of Uber and Lyft work, and they don't understand that it was subsidized by capital investment. And so it's, as a result, it was supposed to go in the direction that it is. You know, education, I think, in that respect would go a long way.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, but that's okay. But Sean, let's talk about thumbs up or down for taking 50% of your money or the fares, not your money.
So, I mean, a couple things. There was an article written back in, it was either published in like 2019, 2020, I think it was 2020, by Mission Local, where now granted, their sample size wasn't as big as yours. It was 10 rides on both platforms. It was California.
It's not good.
They compared the passenger what was on the passenger app to the driver app, and they were on, out of all 20 rides, on average, they were lying about like 20 to like 30%. They were taking more than what they were claiming. It was actually so.
That's conspiracy.
It's not conspiracy, because it was actually something that embarrassed Uber enough that they actually gave us an email last year when the article came out. I don't know if you got that email.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
Nope.
so I got an email. It was actually about a year ago, like, or like it was in July last year. They issued an email to drivers saying how they were going to start showing the real numbers.
They're hiding that now, by the way. They're not going to show you anything now. So everybody knows, right? Chris, Chris actually did a video on that.
I'm just reporting what I've read, what I've seen. I mean, Uber actually reached out to the journalist that did the article. They actually admitted to it, and they said it was because of Prop 22. They said they were hiding fees because of Prop 22. Now, take that all for a grain of salt. Does that mean that anyone outside of California was always getting the true numbers? I don't know. This is why, like, when you posted your spreadsheet, I was very skeptical, because you're going by your numbers, what you see on your side of the app. Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where I was talking about incentives and how I was told by representatives how they do it, and you got to take that from a grain of salt. So it's you know, it's all across the board. The only true way to know what their take is just by comparing your phone to the passenger's phone, and that's it. So and then the other thing too is if there's any kind of surge, obviously you're going to get a higher percentage of the take, because that's a flat amount. You're going to exponentially go up in your percentage wise. Also, the shorter the ride, it's gonna the base minimum is gonna play more into it as well. So if you're doing those short 5-minute trips, the base rate's gonna be $422, $392, something like that. You're just gonna get a chunk of those. Obviously, you're gonna get a bigger percentage of that. Like, that's gonna be a bigger percentage of the overall fare, because they are limited.
Okay. So about 50%. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick question. Why is it that I can be standing in a room with 2 or 3 other Lyft drivers in a surge area, and my surge reads way different than the other 2 phones in the room, even though we're standing less than 2 or 3 feet apart?
It's not a conspiracy. That's a known fact. Like, I've tested that with other Uber drivers. My map looks completely different than another Uber driver's, and I'm like, you know, unless you can prove it, right? Maybe I'm
You
thinking
think that
everybody
they
honestly,
value other
honestly,
drivers more than others?
yeah, I think honestly, this is my opinion only. I think every one of us has a file, a snippet of a file in a server somewhere that this guy gets this guy gets this guy gets this. No joke, because the algorithms they have is so fast and they're so good at it that I know they treat me differently than they treat Jeff or Levi or you or Tony or Sean.
Isn't
And
that
to me,
the
it's
reason
like
isn't that the reason to be a diamond driver then? If they're going to treat us differently, like they're diamond drivers. and they're
not
trying to
not
pay
in a
more?
good way. Look, not in a good way. I mean, because to me, look, I've always been a cherry picker. To me, it's like to me always been quality over quantity, because my city is different. My city is like, if I can catch a 1-3x ride for $50 in 1 hour, why would I put wear and tear on my car, do 4 rides for $50 in 1 hour? That's the difference between Syracuse and LA, right? But I have a chance of cherry picking and doing that. This is not public service. I'm in it for me, by the way. So I know this may go against you or Jeff. I'm in it for me. I'm not in it for Uber. I'm not in it for Lyft. I'm not in it for the passenger. I'm in it for me. And Jeff, Tony, what do you say to that? Are you in it for you, buddy, and your 5 kids, or are you in it for like the passenger?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as Sean with the LLC stuff, trying to cherry pick the best Lux passengers to myself, cut the middleman out. But I disagree with how much money they take and how they hide how much money they take. But at the same time, I still make good money. So I stay on the platform. As soon as I'm not making enough, I'll do something else.
How about Jeff? You were saying something?
Yeah, I was, but I don't remember what it was.
No? Okay, no, I was saying that the diamond situation, that we all have different files.
Yes. I have no way of proving it, but I think as a platinum driver with 100% approval, 0% cancellation, and a 5.0 rating, I think I get better rides. Okay. I don't know for sure. I think I get better rides. That's not why I do what I do, but
I know.
I think it happens.
I had better rides when they didn't take away Uber Select. But on Lyft, I get the bomb rides because I don't do regular Lyft. I just do the Lux.
Okay, we got short time. Let's do, everybody has one. Chris, take number 8 because I got to run out of the room 1 second.
Okay.
Real
quick, everybody, if you want to share your
1 minute
Uber Lyft story. Real quick.
So,
Tim, if you want to start.
I had just started driving for Uber and Lyft, and I was in a small town called Oregon City, and it was about 11:30 at night, and a gentleman was living in a giant apartment complex across the street from a Plaid Pantry, it's similar to a 7-Eleven. Anyway, he goes, "It's a little hard to find my apartment, so meet me at the Plaid Pantry." Fine. So I go and park in the Plaid Pantry parking lot. A black sedan pulls up, and there's a gentleman in the back, 2 ladies in the front, and the gentleman gets out, looks directly at me. And so I thought, oh, this might be my guy. So I looked back at him. He opens up the trunk of the sedan, begins to unload a bunch of stuff out of the back of the sedan. And so now I'm kind of looking a little bit closer to see if I have enough room in my car for his belongings. This guy takes it somehow as a personal affront, comes up to the side of my driver's side and starts challenging me. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? And I was like, "Are you so-and-so?" And I'm asking him if he's my Uber passenger. And he goes, "Does this look like so-and-so?" And he pointed a camouflage crossbow at me. And yeah, that was super fun. But the funniest part about this story was, even though I have a crossbow pointed straight at me, not 6 inches away, my very first thought in that situation was, am I covered for this? Like, I was thinking about my insurance policy. So that's the craziest I got.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, my story is pretty quick, but you know it's always bad when somebody's getting in your car late at night and their friends are like, "Are you going to be okay?" Because they're not. If they're already asking, they're already too sick. And I go about 2 blocks, and the young girl, she says, "I'm going to throw up." So we pull over, open the door, she throws up on the street. We start going again, and I can hear her rolling the windows down, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm going to throw up, and she leans her head out the car and throws up down the side of my car. And I think we've all had that experience. The difference is, and Chris, you've probably experienced this, it was -10.
Oh my God.
It was a blizzard, and I was only about 4 rides away from hitting my quest. And when vomit hits the side of your car, it freezes instantaneously. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, nothing's open. There's no way to wash your car off. You can't wipe it off. It's like rock solid chunks all the way down the side of my car. Blizzard.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
there you go.
The middle of winter is rough. If you got a 24-hour,
wow.
Here, I'll give you a tip though. One of the things, if you go to a gas station, doesn't matter if it's open or closed, you get some of that windshield wiper fluid stuff that they have out there. You wipe that right down, and you're good to go.
That's good. I should have known that. I should have known you earlier, Chris.
Oh, wow.
But yeah,
Adolphus, you gotta have a. What is your craziest story, Adolphus?
When I first started driving, I had this guy that called me up, and he's like, "Hey, Adolphus, you mind making a long run?" I'm like, "Sir, I'll take you to the moon if you got the money." He's like, "Okay." So when I picked him up, I looked at the GPS. It said 3 hours and 20 minutes. I was like, "Where is this guy going?" He's like going from San Diego to Santa Monica. And so I'm like,
God.
"I don't know what it is, sir, but we going." So I took him up there and dropped him off. And at the end of that ride ended up being $430 in 3 hours and 20 minutes. And that's back in the old days with the Uber Select. And so that was my first $500 day. And so I'm like, oh man, I love this business. I'm like convinced I'm not doing anything else. And so that's probably my craziest story.
How'd you get back though?
Hey, I turned the phone off and went back home and went to bed.
Okay. All right. How about you, Jeff?
Well, I don't get many crazy stories because I drive during the day, but this is one of the most unbelievable stories, and it's my fourth favorite ride out of 8,500. So I had a ride for a guy who ordered a ride for his mom. He was plowing snow in Boston. She was in the Charleston area in front of a pharmacy. I got out of the car. I didn't know who she was. I have him on the phone, on the speakerphone. She hears his voice and recognizes my son, and that's how I found her. She gets in the car. She's sitting next to me, and she put on an Academy Award performance for 20 minutes. She did a monologue. I hardly said a word, and that is very unusual. It's almost impossible in my car. And for 20 minutes, she entertained me. This was a woman about 54 years old. If you saw her, you never would have expected she would be funny. She was, I call it the devoted mom and lonely widow. She told me her life story. Her son, I'll give her her greatest hits. Her son is so handsome, he could have any woman he wants. When he was in high school, he dated 2 women. One of them jumped out of the second-story window for me to avoid me seeing her. I don't like the girl that he's seeing now. She's not good enough for him. She came to Thanksgiving, didn't bring anything, and didn't say thank you. She went. Then she says of her son, "My son, he was born on the 4th of July. He came in with a bang and out with a bang." I'm telling you, I sat there, I'm driving, I'm listening to her. She was unbelievable. And then she hit me halfway through the ride by telling me, her husband died, her oldest daughter died. I know the whole story. This was over 3 years ago.
You're definitely not getting paid enough.
Listen, she tells me
you're not getting paid enough.
She tells me that she has to find someone down here, or she has to go back to Massachusetts before she loses her. Well, the word she said, I couldn't believe she said it. Now, I couldn't believe she said it. Then she said it a second time, and to make sure that I understood what she was saying, she went through the whole thing again and said, "Before I lose my..."
Oh, Lord.
Oh my.
Yeah, you're missing an eye. Yeah, we can. We can read
that.
The juiciness.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna read that.
I looked up the slang. I looked it up just the other day because I haven't felt comfortable actually saying that part to anyone. But in slang, it means voluptuousness and strong sexual appeal. If that's what she had, I did not know that. When I told my wife, she said, "You know what? She was flirting with you." I had
Yeah.
absolutely no idea. I hadn't flirted with anyone in 35 years. So if that's flirting, it's news to me.
No, it was, yeah. But, hey, no happy ending for you, Jeff. There you go. How about you, Sean?
Well, I mean, for most shocking, most scariest moment, I would have to say it was driving the nicest three gay dudes I've ever met through Philadelphia during the George Floyd riots in Philly. But we kind of had that's a story for a different day. We kind of have a handshake agreement on this other issue that we talked on the phone earlier about. So about 2 weeks ago, I had a scheduled ride with Lyft. I showed up to the passenger's house. It was a little old lady who was expecting medical transportation to pick her up and take her to her hospital appointment. She was going under the knife. They, instead of giving her a hospital, she came out frail as can be. She was like, "Where's the wheelchair? Where's the wheel accessible van?" Of course, it's just me and my Kia. And there you are. You're put in this position. She was so frail she couldn't walk from her porch to my car. So I, out of the kindness of my heart and a great personal risk, I actually physically picked this woman up, carried her to my car, put her in my car, drove her to the hospital. At this point, the hospital people were not expecting her whatsoever. So then I had to go into the hospital, get a wheelchair for her, unload her, wheel her up to the front desk to check her in. And at that point, I was pretty PO'd. I explained, I'm just a Lyft driver. This is pathetic that you guys do this. Who's in charge of billing to do this exploitation? Their response was to ask me to wheel her to another desk to check her in, as if that's my job. So I did that. Again, I felt so bad for this lady. I moved the furniture, put the wheelchair there for that. Then I went back to the front desk, and of course, for everyone who knows me for that, I'm a pretty chill guy. It takes a lot for me to blow my fuse. Let's just say there was a lot of F-bombs. There was a lot of cursing. Eventually, I was physically escorted out of the hospital by security.
No good deed goes unpunished. There you go. But the other thing is,
and
we didn't talk about this at all. Actually, Lyft is very famous, and Uber is doing this. Medical transport these days. Shit, man. Don't put me in front of a hospital with a passenger who could die in my car. I'm not equipped to handle this stuff. You know what I mean? Just because as a corporate, head said at a hospital, "Oh, we're going to use Uber for medical transport now." I'm like, I don't know what kind of shit this person is in. I don't know if I'm going to get some disease. I'm not equipped to do any of this for $10. So I'm like, hey, man, call an ambulance or something.
Not just that, Sergio. These people aren't doing this kind of stuff out of the goodness of their heart. This is something that they are sitting there scheduling these rides for their patients, and for most part, most hospitals do this. A lot of car dealerships in my area do this, and it's fine. This is just a super really bad situation with this one hospital chain in my area, and that these people are then taking whatever they paid Lyft and tying it to the patient's medical insurance. They're charging them, and who knows what they're charging them. Yep. So it goes exploitation of my time, the patient safety, the fact that now they're sitting there and who knows what scummy stuff they're doing with medical insurance. It's something that, and then I sat there and ended my day. I called Lyft support, and in typical fashion, they sat there and they just threw their hands up and they were just like, we have no control. We're sorry. Bop, bop, bop. And that was the end of it. I was like, what?
My advice to you, even if they're passed out drunk, do not touch your passenger at any cost.
Oh, yeah.
I know you felt bad for the lady to grab her and put her in your car or whatever, bro, you have so much liability. It's not even funny.
No,
don't
no, I
ever touch,
understand
don't
that.
ever do it. Yeah.
No, I understand that.
Tony,
And-
how about you? You're a tough guy. I know. You gotta have some. You had the golf club thing, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's one of the craziest weird, like, threatening stories. So I already talked about that, but the similar to I had a Uber Select. I was like doing one more trip as 2 a.m. and there was a snowstorm here in Denver, so like everybody's stranded at the airport. No taxis, they can't even get out with that. So I was making good money that night, and I was like, all right, I'll do one more. And of course, it's from the airport to Aspen, Colorado, which is like 4.5 hours.
Oh my
But
God.
it was on Uber Select, and so I was like, I talked to the people that came in from New York. They'd been on the airplane for like almost 20 hours. They're like, yeah, if you could just get us there, that'd be great. They bought me an energy drink and everything. So I drove them out there. $440 is what I made on that in 4.5 hours. And then I went to the parking ride and took a nap and drove home.
Yeah. Did you have enough juice in your Tesla? Was it in your Tesla?
Oh, this was before the pandemic, so yeah, I had my 3 Series BMW.
Okay, all right. Well, you guys, I thank you so much. I don't know if we solved all the world's problems or Ubers and Lyfts, but I think there's a lot that could be done, and the more of these we do, consensus comes out. I mean, it really does. Like, we all don't like Uber support, most of us anyway. We all think there is problems with safety. We all think there is problems with passenger onboarding. I mean, these things are important issues. And when it comes to the IC issue, we could debate it for the next 3 years. I don't think it's going to be solved that fast. But I really thank you for coming on. And then we'll have to do these every few months with amazing drivers like you. Again, Dara, are you watching this, Dara? I know you're watching this, or your intern is watching this, because I know I'm going to get an email tomorrow. You're lucky to have these people on your platform. So, maybe you should send them a hat or some shit from Uber hat, or
How about give me a better increase for being here for 5.5 years?
Yeah. There's no loyalty on your end, though, and there's no loyalty on their end, bro.
Right.
Because to me, whoever shows me the money, I'm gonna go there. I am not doing this for public service.
I just want to say to Uber that I'm purchasable, much like Alex Rosenblatt that authored Uberland. So if you want to absorb me to quiet me down, hit me up at my
They offered me a job, I refused. So no, I'm kidding.
Great job, Sergio. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Levi. Okay, everybody, please lead at least that one story. What's the name of that story, Levi? The quest that you're trying to finish before you go to Phoenix.
Oh yeah, if you go to tipyouintheapp.com, there's a couple of stories out there, but there's one where I tried to hit my quest in 24 hours. It's kind of fun. I did a live stream blog and everything. It's not as good as Driven Dad's videos though. I went and checked them all out. They're really good.
That story was like, I couldn't finish. Oh, did he finish? Did he not finish? Did he finish?
The only Uber drivers care about that stuff. But yeah, it was great.
Hey man, we're integral part of this whole thing. I mean, without Uber drivers, is there Uber? We all agree on that one. Who agrees?
Right.
Without drivers, is there Uber?
Yeah, they tried and they failed.
Yeah, there is none. So thank you anyway.
We are the goose that provides the golden egg.
Yeah. Without us, there is no Uber at the moment until flying Uber show up. Adolphus, keep doing what you're doing, man. You have created a side gig of a side gig. I don't know what the heck is going on there, but I think you're awesome, Jeff.
Thank you, sir.
I honestly, I think thank your wife that she could get you on the live stream. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, don't forget the tip. All right. And next time a lady gets in your car and tells you about juiciness, I think I definitely think she's hitting on you, bro. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm like, if some lady gets in my car and talks about juiciness for 20 minutes, I'll be like, my place or your place? Tony, I love your stuff. I'm a subscriber already. Thank your wife for me for taking care of the 5 kids in these 2 hours.
Yeah.
Look,
Well,
we're
we're
all
about
gonna
to go
keep-
vlog tonight too. So
We're all gonna keep in touch, and let's do this again. And Chris, bro, let me tell you, I'm taking the next 2 weeks off. You do it on your own. Oh my God.
That's all right.
All right. Anyway, thank you guys. So Chris,
All
go ahead,
right,
wrap
yep.
it up, bro.
Yep. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for participating. Everybody who joined in, everybody who's watching, thank you. Yeah, we'll be back next week on Tuesday. This week was a little bit different because of Sergio, but that's all right. For somebody who asked if COVID was gone, yes, everything has been A-okay now. So happy about that. And with that being said, have a great rest of your day, everybody. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time.
Keep in
Thank
touch,
you.
everybody. Let's keep in touch, okay?
Yes,
See
sir.
you. Thank